Welcome back to another episode of Frisbee. We have the EUF Summer Tour in front of us in Freiburg. It is hotting up. The day is clear and beautiful. Barely any wind as we see us move into the crossover stages, pre-quarters here on the fields in Freiburg. You can see just a little view there of the sports complex around this field. It's sort of inside a big running track, as you do tend to get at some sports complexes. And we will be having a match in front of us between Nullacht and their fellow German opponents, FRUBB. These two teams coming second and third spots in their respective pools. Of course, FRUBB had a difficult time out against EUCS, the current number one ranked team in all of Europe, that Munich side. But they had a game a little bit closer, so that was 15-3, that loss against EUCS. But FRUBB had a closer one against Remix, the Dutch team in that pool, 14-10, unfortunately finishing in the bottom spot of Pool A. Whereas mixed fortunes, of course, for Nullacht. They had a 15-7 win over Wiener Mischung of Austria, but unfortunately lost on Universe Point 14-13 to Disconnection, the hosts. They emerged out of mixed Pool D to get into this crossover stage. Of course, this is one of four of the mixed crossovers looking to try and get themselves into the championship brackets tomorrow morning. Zoom Ultimate will be facing up against the Owls, CUS Plasdover Rangers against Colorado, and Remix versus Wiener Mischung, of course, to round off the rest of these crossover matches here in Freiburg. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, on the call, and we will be, of course, using our VO AI cameras. As you can see, it just sort of deciding which team it's favouring, and I'm sure you will have your decisions back home as to which side you're supporting. This is where I should probably put in some kind of platitude about Spirit being the ultimate winner. But of course, thank you so much for joining us on this EUF coverage. I'm gonna hazard a guess that we've got Nullacht in their black jerseys, but I say hazard a guess because it is difficult to say for sure on this distance, but it does look very familiar, this kit, as do some of the players. And it does look like they've got an exclamation point at the end of that black jersey. So it looks like we'll be having Nullacht to start on offense as well. I don't see any of their 7 out on the line with a disc in hand. And this game just about to get underway. Local time is 3:45 in the afternoon. But hello to you, wherever you're tuning in from, whatever time zone you're residing in. Lovely to have you alongside with us. Of course, a lot of these scores being inputted live onto the EUCS schedule website. So eucs-schedule.ultimatefederation.eu. So you see the hand slaps between these opponents, of course, both hailing from the same country. So I'm sure Nullacht and FRUBB will have had lots of matches during the course of their histories as clubs. Of course, Nullacht a touch younger across the board. So I tell a lie. It looks like it's FRUBB starting out on offense, and they're going to throw a deep shot that's unfortunately well covered by the defense, and we get our first turnover of the match. Of course, this tournament all about trying to keep yourselves in contention. At the moment, Nullacht sat in the 14th ranked spot. There's the shout from the sideline of Callahan County. Nullacht also have deep shots available downfield, but choosing the underneath instead. That one's going to bobble off the fingertips, though. Way too much spice on the disc. And it slips out of the kitchen. Great attack from the defender, but can't unmuscle Luma. But there's a great smack defense. Just the disc getting contact, of course, not the player. And already plenty of tussle in this matchup. We'll talk about the EUCS ranking, of course, expected scorelines between these two in just a little bit. So this time, the deep space, oh, that almost is going to be perfect for the goal. And it is going to be called in by the player herself on the sideline there, ready to support the eyes of Louise Kreifer. Waiting. Bucket-hatted. And those look suspiciously like trainers, not cleats that Kreifer is wearing. So hopefully she's all okay and just resting for this game. But a great deep cut. I'm trying to figure out exactly what the number is there. Mirka Peparova by the number 31. So yes, I said we'd talk about these EUCS rankings. At the moment, Nullacht in the overall standings in Europe are 14th. There's a lot of love for the Germans in this mixed division. As we said, TC Taucher in that first spot, Disconnection taking the 9th spot. Nullacht in 14th, FRUBB just standing outside in the cold at the moment. They're ranked 17th. So a win over Nullacht here would be very crucial indeed. And they are trailing by 1. And that, of course, being a break of score to start the game off. But anything could happen. And it was indeed Friederike that reeled in that goal. So rather elongated stoppage. Players just all hustling back into position. And back in action. Sideline calling for a hard no around. Tanner there, ready for the reset. Inside backhand scooping break. Adam with it still rising high. Florian Adam, of course, in that number 6 for FRUBB. Player with the 2 first names, as we'd like to say in English. But too far is the disc that goes up that sideline. And another opportunity for Nullacht to snag themselves a break. That one's going to have to trail back inbounds. It does so and is handled very easily. A nice quick counter attack to make that break flow very easily indeed. And it is Jonas Schulte in the end zone with that nice grab with Grüter. And having had the vision, it does look like a couple of people might not be cleated up for Nullacht, actually. So, at the moment, the 2-0 lead for Nullacht over FRUBB. Both of them relatively quick turnarounds. So they'll be delighted. And of course, lucky to have our volunteer scorekeepers alongside, trying to keep everything flowing and moving properly. Something that is actually a feature I really miss when we're commentating games that don't have those scorekeepers just to keep everything in alignment. A little bit of a sag off the handlers initially to try and confuse and clog the lanes. Seems to do the trick. A little bit of hesitation there. Beren thought about picking up the disc early, but allows the handlers at the back to do so instead. So a pit call will pause us with the disc in the hands of Felix Becht even. Now just grinding things forward. Comfort. Nice single hand grab for Beren. Now Comfort trying to strike up line, opens up the space around. Big old poach off, allows that one for Visney. Can see that Mark's really trying to defend the break side to stop the big backhand passes. That one's going to make it though all the way across the bows. A lovely throw. And that will be good for a 3-0 lead now for Nullacht in this crossover match. So Katharina Leopold with the throw and Julius Herring or Verais with the goal. So FRUBB finding things a bit tricky here, just seem to be making nice shapes upfield, just the pressure of this Nullacht defence causing them to miss their connections a little bit. But we certainly have seen already at this very tournament, games trade momentum back and forth and back and forth. And for FRUBB so far, the shape of their games, including that opening one against Remix, very much trading breaks and trying to bring things back, of course, against Tusitaka. But when they've found their magic, it has been a grind of going on runs of momentum. So let's see if they can find some magic here. It's a big deep shot. Again, we get the pick off from the back player. Male matching athletes supporting their teammates. This time it's Jonna Schult just sitting off the back of the stack, shepherding the disc away. It's a real feature of any division, but especially in mixed, making sure that you clear those lanes, keep your matchups busy when person defense is being played, because a lot of teams have habits of giving the offside male matching players, as in the non-active side of this, you can imagine the sort of pitch split in half. A lot of them will give those assignments saying, if anybody strikes deep, you play help. And of course, what you do with that player that is poached off is up to you. Break side or under, but that's going to be almost taken away. What a fantastic effort on the defensive bid, but cannot stop that flow into the end zone. And it's another break of score for Nullacht. And Florian Klute brings it off the throw from Lena Schaefer. Florian Grutter, of course, one of these Munster athletes where many of the Nullacht folks are from. In fact, I think it's a something to do with the number 8. And a big crossover with the Nullacht roster with Bora, of course. Interestingly, no timeouts being called yet by FRUBB, despite this 4-0 scoreline. And Nullacht ready themselves for another defensive point. Dennis Kakhtma looking for an option. A little bit of a stumble there. No contact, just a awkward landing. That looks to be Vid now. Immediately attended to by Charlotte Mikus. And the injury will be called. Really unfortunate to see no contact injuries occur. It is unfortunately part of sports. So, you know, injuries do happen. We certainly have solid medical staff on hand at this tournament. And believe us, folks, that it's one of the downsides of AI cameras. We don't have any control of whether or not the player that's come off of the injury substitution is in view or not. More often than not, they are captured. You can see there that foot being immediately elevated. Sensible protocols there. So back in action, she is replaced by her teammate. Trying to find on my street, that's Sonia Bordinger. And unfortunately coming in cold. Makes a little bit too much of heat on the pass, but Nullacht will give it straight back with a throwaway of their own. FRUBB looking to try and post their first point on the board. Sanchez swings it all the way across. Smoothly moving. Oh, it's a cheeky little one that's poached off very well. Not sure exactly who that was. It looked like Jakob Fuss. Causing a fuss indeed. Oh, look at that flow over to the break side. Puts it out on a silver platter into the front corner. What flow from Nullacht, and what a throw from Annika Berend. So Nullacht 5-0 up in this crossover, looking to get themselves the opportunity to have a go, of course, at that top spot, the wild card entry into EUCS. Of course, you need to have your 10 games as well. We'll just check, of course, you can look in the ranking.ultimatefederation.eu website your very selves. Expected a very tight scoreline, did the algorithm coming into this game. A draw, almost. A slight advantage for Nullacht. But at the moment, Nullacht really showing themselves higher quality, though FRUBB, can they squeeze it through? Nice find there. Not quite the same level of confidence to take on that break side float, because this person defense is really pushing FRUBB to throw into tight windows. Very low margins of error. Nice recovery. And there goes the big shot. Lots of hang time underneath it, and there is going to be no catch made on the bottom of it. Daniel Tanner with a bit of vision doesn't quite connect. So despite both of these opponents hailing from Germany, they don't actually have any mutual opponents thus far over the EUCS season. Nullacht have dropped very few games. Losses to Deep Space, Malmo, Ultimate, Pelt, and Reading and Seskidistas. So some of the big dogs. And Sky this Warsaw as well. But played them tight enough to be up in the higher standings. FRUBB with a higher win record rate. This is nice flow up line and taken away. Nice little pick off the higher hands of Katarina Blumor. Now, no mark to speak of. You can throw whatever you like. Chooses the down the line gainer. So maybe this slightly longer point starting to tire out some of the defense, but again, some smart poaching upfield, starting to really become the dominant feature of this game. Oh, can she get there? No, not quite. That looked very, very threatening indeed. There's not much wind to speak of. Nice clear day in Freiburg. Not really too much breeze to be getting in the way of any of these throws. In fact, it almost looks like it's a fake background behind the pitch because the trees are so still. Where do you see that at a tournament complex? What a beautiful day for Ultimate. And a spoil. Is that one going a little bit too hot and high? Local temperature. In fact, we are getting heat warnings in the Freiburg region as the hot throw, the hammer sailing across the pack. A nice idea from Lena Schaefer. Lena, she's 25 years old, a younger athlete in the seniors division, and a timeout at long last being taken here because we still have not seen a single goal out of FRUBB. They are just being straight up shut out so far. We'll take a brief moment of pause as well in the booth. So timeout being taken in the very early stages here of this first half. At the moment, a huge score advantage. The EUCS schedule website has it as 5-0. Oh, there we go. It's just updated. We've gotten there. The Lena Schaefer and Judith Wisny hammer connection being added to that tally. So 6-0, the lead at the moment for Nullacht, who will be delighted. Of course, they have enough matchups, I believe, overall, and certainly will by the end of this tournament. They've been attending lots of things. They were at the Spring Tour in Malmö way back when, and of course got that bid at the Elite Invite in Leuven. Whereas for FRUBB, they had a lot of success at their Spring Tour. They entered back in Padova. Of their 5 games, they got 4 wins and a close loss to the very highly ranked Mosquitoes. But apart from that, their wins have been against relatively low-ranked opponents. So if they can drag this one back, it will be very impactful for their rankings. Lovely catch behind the back for Mikas, who's going to throw a blade that, again, those little pockets of confusion when throwing to players that are surrounded by others seems to be a feature at the moment of one of their things going wrong. Not really finding their structure and space quite so well are FRUBB. Whereas the break side flow, once Nullacht are able to exploit and break the mark, they really are very difficult to shut down. Look at that leading pass onto the break side from Vass. Comfort. Oh, but throws into the poach. Well, there we go. FRUBB giving themselves a little bit more energy, grinding the disc back. I said that Nullacht have been doing a better job of keeping things more regimented with their structure, but a little bit of inactivity in the stack, allowing that poach off. Mikas going for the hammer grip. Sanchez through. And a big blading forehand. And at long last, FRUBB put a point on the board. Well, hard earned and deserved. Because they've been threatening it for a while. So after the timeout, wasn't on the first go at it. In fact, Nullacht looked very close to scoring with defense once again. But Birute Steponaite, the Lithuanian import on this team, connecting with Thomas Loscheit. And that will be, at long last, an end of the drought for FRUBB. Can they flip the fortunes and dish out the same run of breaks on Nullacht? Well, all of the whistles and back in action. So our first look at how Nullacht are coming out on offense to start. Now, of course, start the second half with offense as well, having gotten that break to begin us here in Freiburg. Looking for the give goes on this near sideline. Able to get yards. Ackerman working alongside Simon Hiss. Nice reaching grab for Schäfer and a pop with a foot race to the front cone. That little tilt on the up line. And another one in the bank for Nullacht. They really are racing away with the swag bag full of coins. That's 1 point away from taking half time. As Louise Kreifer reels that one in. And you can see from the body language of FRUBB, there isn't the perhaps highest level of belief for them at the moment in this game. But we are expecting Lovely weather to continue today here in Freiburg. Tomorrow might be a little bit of a different tale. We're expecting a bit of rain, keeping things interesting for our bracket play. This, of course, as we already mentioned, the crossover stages. This is the A3 and D2 game. So this team, whichever team advances here, will face it off against Cesspedistas first thing tomorrow. An overshot from FRUBB. Can't quite make the journey. Does best, Jonas Schulte. But it's going to be Nullacht starting off. Grütte almost getting up that up line, and a bit of confusion there as to which player was attacking that space and getting the disc, perhaps causing some hesitation. And the defence exploits it marvellously. But a big battle between the two in the centre pitch, and it's Buchinger that gets a bit bested. And Nullacht respond immediately with the deep shot. Not the biggest pass required, but that was stylish. So that will be half time now, taken in dominant fashion by Nullacht over FRUBB. And it's an 8-1 lead for the Munster side. And at the moment, FRUBB with all the adjustments to make, trailing in this game. Can they bring it back in the second half? So the second half about to get underway here. Half an hour, so 30 of the 100 minutes expired within the time cap. Game, of course, to 15 here at our EUCS ranking events. This one in Freiburg in Germany, where the local temperature is about 31 degrees Celsius. We do have some hot weather warnings in this particular part of Germany. But it's going to be a bit cooler tomorrow, and of course wind a little bit higher. We're going up from to maybe some gusts of 10 miles an hour. But as you can see from the conditions out here today, not even a thrower's breeze to make things interesting, just still conditions to get the best out of the offensive capabilities of these teams. At the moment, the discipline of Nullacht coming to the fore. We see a look at a zone from FRUBB to try and make the pass tally rise. Relatively passive zone. Just trying to stop the next pass rather than apply the mark immediately. But if you're Nullacht, you can kind of do this all day. Keeping things real chill. Greife, a little punctuation through to The handler's just working it nicely around the cup. And there's the lead pass into the end zone. Narrowly missed by the deep defender on the wing side. But that will work. And it was relatively swift and calm until that final little bit of excitement for the scoring pass to Simon Huss from Sebastian Schreiber. This fast work indeed for Nullacht. 9-1 now their lead. 6 more points. And this game will be over. Well, I say that. 6 more points specifically for Nullacht. Although at the moment it's only been the one that FRUBB have managed. And it is difficult to bring yourself back from these difficult situations where your opponents have really opened up this level of commanding lead. But certainly we've seen stranger things in the game of Ultimate. And all you need is to start the campaign, get that momentum rolling. You can start to run away with things. But the tight match coverage that Nullacht have been applying on their opponents has certainly been coming up with the goods. Or maybe they'll be inspired by their opponents and throw us a zone. So FRUBB starting things off with a nice simple vertical stack, a little bit late to set things up. And again, there's a poach off the back, but just a swing and a miss. Really unfortunate. Did everything right, all the hard work. But the disc just bops off the fingers at the last moment. The pressure, perhaps a bit too hot to handle still. So Nullacht with the disc again. Strong clear through, but also strong defense on those cutters. Of course, FRUBB, the shortened version. Oh, well, can they make short work of this? They can indeed, on the doorstep. A cheeky, sneaky, high release backhand will work. Just as we start to say a bit of Ultimate history, well, coming back from this scoreline deficit would be historic indeed. 9-2 now. Nullacht remain well in front. But yes, FRUBB, formerly Fallrauscher and the Bemble boys. So like to call each other Frubbies, which is very cute indeed. But yeah, FRUBB quite used to taking the silver at things. Second place finishes at grass nationals and beach mixed nationals in Germany over the course of their seasons to date. And of course had their debut at the World Ultimate Club Championships back in 2022. And in terms of their base, they're Frankfurt side. Well, this is more like it. Intense defense. Now can FRUBB really start to make their way into the game? Really scraping up that far sideline, taking the shot on for a bit of a sense of adventure for us. And again, committing to that reset around. Have to talk about the psychological impact of starting to grind away at this deficit. But the loft on the disc exploited by the defender. Smashed out of bounds quite decidedly. So the first turn given by Nullacht Zoline. Schenk shanks it through. It's the secondary option that Simon Hoos likes to look off. Now Schaefer again putting that lead throw into the end zone. I think it's Wisny again. Oh no, it's Louisa Kreifer. In fact, that is not the only time those two have connected in the course of this match. Got that goal, very similar fashion to take it to 7-1, so 10-2. We've got some trading to start the second half here in Freiburg. This crossover in the mixed division. The mixed and only division, of course, in Freiburg. Being hosted by Disconnection. Then Chauffeur, of course, like enjoying that target of Louisa Kreifer for Nullacht. Kreifer has been playing for 11 years, despite only being 24 years old. So I'll let you do the maths as to when she started her ultimate career. Started playing because of one of her teachers, and she's represented Team Germany many, many times, including, of course, that wonderful bronze medal finish at Under 24s last year in Nottingham. Many high hopes, of course, for the German seniors teams that will be heading to Worlds later on this year as well, with the German women having grabbed that gold medal at EUC. So much talent, so much depth. And as anyone looking at the rankings can see, there's plenty of German flags well up in things as we see a foot race and Dennis Kazma bested. Schulte popping that around, very well held. Sort of that immediate throw and go movement. We have seen a change of the force. We are having Nullacht being forced forehand now. So the break side is that forehand throw. So our AI cam gets a bit distracted with the centre field and, of course, the players warming up. Apologies, folks. Sort of need them to start getting warmed up on the other side of the pitch, maybe. That's a lovely grab high for Ackermann. Not Ackermann, sorry, Klute. 49, not 48. Big backhand move. Nullacht being just forced to keep moving the disc laterally between their handler set. Schulte now. Jonas Schulte, the 26-year-old now, finding some movement and flow in Nullacht. Oh, the dad backhand into the path. I think that is the flying form of Jonas Schulte, reeling that one in. Of course, Sean's Sheep, the junior program that has birthed a couple of these Nullacht folks. Love the junior names that you get coming out. And Schulte, of course, part of that Bora and family ultimate since this year. Has played for many iteration of the German juniors team. So another on the board for Nullacht. And that makes it 11-2 Grüter. And indeed, it was Jonas Schulte. Schäfer de Kräfer, Grüter de Schulte. My German pronunciation is not perfect. But we try. And we make little jokes here and there. But at the moment, it really is Nullacht's game to throw away. There was that little glimmer of hope. But they have managed to recover every point and not get broken a single time at the moment, this Nullacht side have. Can FRUBB find the flow and magic, though? Another deeper disc where the Sky Battle is won by the team wearing black. They wind up. Look at the trust that they have in each other. That one developing very nicely. Oh, and the hand goes out, but doesn't quite collect. Tobias Hegemann really working for that one. But just coming up short. It will force FRUBB to grow the whole stretch of the field, though. They try and punch this one in. Nice switch on the upline. Big recovery. But you can see the pressure that's being put on every single pass. Hotly contested. Apart from those little rushing gainers. And that is taken out of contention very easily. Looks like we'll get... Oh, I'm not sure. That must be Jonas Schulte. Looked like an 8 for a minute on our camera view. Nice team connections as we sort of rotate through the roles. At some points, Nullacht have 4 handlers back or 4 players in the handler position, but all the way from downtown. That one perfectly rated this time. The flash of speed coming out of that level 4 set of handlers. And Katharina Leopold with some excellent movement, exploiting perhaps a slightly flat-footed defender and racing through to collect yet another break of score. That's 12-2 now, 10 points clear of their opponents, 3 points away from a win here, and a chance for a little bit of revenge against their former opponents. We talked about the overall ranking. This game predicted to be very close. It will not be. I think it's fair to say, unless something really pivotal changes, which, I mean, I'd be here for because we love the excitement. A timeout being taken. So we'll get a chance for me to ramble on at you folks. Bear with. But previously, because it does look like Nullacht will be going into that quarter final tomorrow. So Seskidistas would be the opponents of the winner of this matchup. Last time that they were faced by Nullacht, it was a 15-5 loss. That was one of the later stage games against Seskidistas in the Elite Invite at Leuven. And I don't believe that FRUBB have faced Seskidistas in a matchup so far this season. So it would be a somewhat unknown entity. But in terms of the overall games required, a big scoreline like this does get treated under the blowout rules. Only if FRUBB cannot bring it back. And of course you can catch all the EUCS ranking results. Play a bit of bracketology predictions, of course. 2 more wild cards left to be awarded this season. One will go to the winner of this tournament, who almost every pundit will predict is Tsutaka, but we'll see what happens. You have to win the games in front of you. Great save. A hero maker of a throw there for the collection from Wusha Fennec. Inside forehand. Oh, well, that was absolutely bang on the money. Really nice flow after that recovery, just off of our camera view immediately. Sonia Boehringer opening up the space for Thomas Loscheit. Sonia Boehringer, one of the more seasoned athletes for sure on this FRUBB side. Still hanging with the best of them. She's been playing for 20 years, which is just under half of her lifespan so far. And of course, as a result, has been representing Germany in the Masters division for quite some time. The Diamond Masters mixed as well. But career highlight so far for Boehringer with that wonderful goal and throw was winning the European Championships of Beach Ultimate back in 2013 in the Caliphate Masters division. Excellent tournament back when it was called ECBU, because it's now EBUC. Change your acronyms around. There's a couple of those red Nalgenes still floating around from that tournament way back in 2013. So Nullacht looking to respond and put themselves within 2 of the win, but that won't be enough to do it. Almost like he couldn't decide which of the 2 to throw to, Theobald or Comfort. And the spill, and a real opportunity here for FRUBB to try and break back. They haven't managed one so far. They've just pecked away at their own tally, but that one, a slip, a slide, and unfortunately, no catch. Even though Blumor had a great go at it. Schenk. And that one, nice vision to the far side. I think that is for Pepperhoff. Probably at Theobald, though. What am I on about? It's Federica in the 31. Mirko Pepperhoff is a male matching athlete wearing the same number, though. Bit of seeing double out here. Oh, and a drop. Just that one, a bit too much punch on it. And I think that was a zony look from FRUBB. So, bit of fortune here for the Frankfurt side. Launching it. What an absolute rocket. Just enough curvature for it to work out. And that, folks, is our first break of the game for FRUBB. Can that start the campaign? Christian Sanchez underneath it. Bruta Stepanita stepping on the gas again, of course, responsible for the first assist for FRUBB in this game. The Lithuanian with all the ideas. And this is a test here for Nullacht. They only have to punch 3 more in. So can they come out and execute the game plan? The one point just now, of course, that first turnover just looked like the disc was thrown between 2 open targets. It's just that mental composure perhaps needs to be brought up a notch. And you can see the teams warming up for the next round here on pitch 1. Which will, of course, be those extra games. That Cescadistas disconnection matchup coming at you at 5:05 local time. So Nullacht looking to try and stay disciplined as our AI camera gets a bit distracted by the warm-up. Not sure which movement to choose. Up line for Kofa as we disappear off of our view. Well, that looks like Schenk through. Can they follow it for the third pass? Schreiber. But looks like that one is a turnover. Getting a bit too hasty in the small spaces. It can look so tempting to finish this off. So maybe a little bit of rashness in the late stages of the game from Nullacht. Not quite finding the same magic they had at the beginning of the match. So back in action. Of course, the other thing, it is a game to 15, but we may also have the points cap, but that's a great sky battle. Again, this is one of the strengths of this Munster side. Whenever there's a disc that's thrown with a little bit of looseness, they are usually the first ones underneath it. So Schenk surveying the field, and he receives his mark to apply force a little bit later, but not sure exactly who that was supposed to be for. Maybe Schreiber just sort of bailing out on his cut when he saw the first step of movement from Schenk. And FRUBB isolating with that slice forehand. Start off their movement upfield. Now they're getting a little bit stuck. Excellent handler defending as well. Be nice to see FRUBB really push through all the way on those upline cuts, even if it's just to clear. But they're going to throw a risky biscuit off the hands of Jochen Wischerfinnig. And unfortunately, FRUBB missed an opportunity to get the game level there. So it will take quite the cement and set of blocks to try and level the house totally. That is a rocket, though. I'm going to say that's a catch by virtue of the enthusiastic yes on the sideline. And at long last, Nullacht decide to take the time out, refocus, resettle, get some lungs refreshed, some hydration on board. As this game and this point in particular starts to really grind all the way through the gears. So coming back in off the timeout, you can see the team's just getting ready for their next game slot on our showcase field. It will, as I understand it, be a disconnection Seskidistus match, just to give the extra games not too much rest. Of course, a very light schedule. The 2 matches in the pool rounds to determine who gets that immediate berth straight into quarterfinals and who plays the crossover match. So this one between the 2nd and 3rd spot in 2 of these pools, Pool A and Pool D. We'll be facing off against Seskidistas tomorrow morning. Does look like it's going to be Nullacht. And of course, a big loss here will hurt FRUBB's chances. Currently sat out in the cold in the 17th spot in the overall rankings for this mixed division. And if our Veo Cam can get a bit more excited about the Frisbee happening rather than the warm-up, it does seem to be focused, unfortunately. Apologies for this, folks. So I think that one, by virtue of deduction, looks to have been a score for Nullacht, bringing them ever closer to the win here. The score now 13-4. Sebastian Schreiber finding Gideon Schenk. Schenk, an information system student, just a tender youngster, the age of 23. He was, of course, part of that under-24s open team. It was a double world bronze for the junior. Not well. Do we call under-24s juniors? How do we feel about that, people? They're sort of, it's a youth division, but not quite juniors. Development, trying to give extra reps, of course. All about these senior squad development. And indeed, Germany having a wonderful time in Nottingham last year. Almost immediately back to back, of course, because those bronze medal matches played on semi-finals day. So FRUBB looking to try and keep the dream alive, reaching towards that front pocket. Oh, what a fantastic posterizing grab between the two, the kick spike afterwards. But that is a way to let all of your frustrations out, having been shut out of the game for quite some time. That's a nice way to respond. 13-5 now. Alina Stuck hitting Florian Adam in the perfect pocket for him to come up trumps. So Nullacht find themselves stumbling towards the last couple of hurdles in this matchup. Of course, took that first half 8-1, which feels like it should have been a very secure position indeed, but in the later stages, the wisdom and experience of FRUBB changing up the defense, throwing in a zone, sagging in those lanes just that little bit, and changing up the way they're playing on offense as well. We're seeing much fewer of these lofty passes that Nullacht are handling very well and generally winning the fights underneath them. Of course, still wonderfully clean ways to do it, but Nullacht immediately throwing for goal. Schenk just sneaking away. Oh, wow. Now that is some exploded defense. You can see a bit of confusion on the sidelines. In fact, it does look a little bit like confusion for Alexander Blumor. Hands out on his sides, just going, what was that? Who was supposed to be marking Gideon Schenk? Of course, it's difficult to always see from the camera view, so maybe perhaps a zone that just a perfect throw was found through, but something went not according to plan for FRUBB there. I think it is probably fair to say. So time drawing on here. Just over an hour expired. And 14-6 now. Beautiful shot. Really very, very nice. And just finished off with style. Well, I got a little preview of that one. This is the delay slightly on the stream. Alina Suk with a great rundown of that deep disc, and then that final little piece into Francisca Bujara. Alina Suk, another of the players on that World Ultimate Club Championships team. He's a real agile player. And came to play Ultimate thanks to a knee injury, which I find interesting, just because a lot of Ultimate athletes tend to pick up knee injuries. It's quite a demanding sport, lots of torsion and twisting with the changes of movement. But very pleased to have stuck within the playing community. Watch out for her on the Women's Masters team for the German nation. So, Nullacht with the second match point of the game, this time true at match point, coming out on offense. Schenk, that nice inside, just hitting that left shoulder of the player downfield. That, of course, being Lena Schaefer. Well, this is more like this style that we saw, although a little slide required for Schreiber. But more like what we saw at the beginning of the game in terms of the flow and the connections. Nice initiation. And again, following these throws very close to the disc, but it's going to be a behind-the-back grab to finish us off for the game. Well, it turned out after all of that Nullacht were able to hold on in the end. No real true run of breaks, just that one on the tally for FRUBB. But what a fantastic game, especially that first half. The commanding performance by Nullacht really just shuts down and shut out the opponent so well. But heads up to FRUBB for getting themselves back in the second half, remaining strong, remaining determined and focused. And they will be unfortunately locked out into the 9-12 bracket. They are the first team to do so formally. The rest of our crossovers continue on the other fields here in Freiburg. But next up on field one, of course, it is that extra game, as it's being called in the schedule, just the, adding it on, Seski Distus versus Disconnection, the lovely hosting team here. So they can see them getting themselves ready, Seski Distus, taking to the field immediately. But we'll come back to you on that live stream. But thank you so much for joining us today. Our coverage here from Freiburg in Germany for our EUF Summer Tour event here. Final score, Nullacht Ultimate 15, FRUBB 6.